I want to get into Joe Musgrove now and talk to him about what exactly it is about football and fantasy football that sort of fascinates baseball players. Joe, welcome, and tell me about how big is the fantasy football draft with the San Diego Padres?
Yeah, Peter, thanks for having me, first off. The fantasy, league-wide, it's pretty big. I'd say with most guys in general, fantasy is like a big time of the year. It's for a lot of guys an excuse to get out and watch some football with their buddies and have something to look forward to every week and kind of tap into the competitiveness. And all the guys here obviously are extremely competitive, but, to give us another sport where you got to tap into some knowledge and some experience and, some ability to move rosters around, I think that's something the guys will take a lot of pride in here. So it gets extremely competitive. And this team is definitely up there on that competitive side.
Tell me about your draft. When will it be? What's it like? What do you do for your draft?
Yeah, we've bounced around different years doing certain things. We've rented out nightclubs to have, isolated for ourselves and have a big draft there and a big draft party. This year, I believe we're doing it from the hotel in Milwaukee, the Pfister. We'll be out there doing our draft in like the banquet room. We'll load it up.
So in other words, you're on the road next week, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to be in Milwaukee. Yeah. What do you have, an off day?
We are off that day, yeah.
You have an off day, so it'll be like a big deal.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of guys will go out, get an early round of golf in, and then come home, shower, and start prepping for the draft.
Yeah. Okay, so who's really serious about it on your team?
Crony's very serious. Crony's done
Jake
probably
Croningworth.
a half dozen mock drafts in the last 12 hours since we had our lottery to find out where everyone's picking. Jake
Where are
takes
you
it very
picking in the
serious.
draft?
I'm at the 4 spot this year, which I was saying I looked at did some homework, and that's not too favorable of a spot this year. But man, you never know what guys are going to do. I'm hearing some of the things stirring around about guys taking guys earlier than they should go, and a lot of it's probably just tactics to get guys a little riled up and worry about their picks. But I got the 4 pick this year, so not a terrible spot, but there's other ones I'd like more.
How many years have you been in a fantasy football league?
I've done fantasy football for a long time with my buddies from high school, and I never really took it all that serious back then.
You're from here, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of just something fun that we did every year. We had like $50, $100 buy-ins or something, nothing too severe, and then you get to the big leagues and guys want to talk about $1,000 up to $5,000 buy-ins. You got to dive into the numbers a little more and do a little more homework. So I've taken it a little more seriously over the past 3, 4, 5 years.
Have you won your league since you've been in the big leagues?
Not our big league one. I've won my other one a couple times, but not the big league one. That's the big money maker.
My question is, if you're, especially in September, if you're playing baseball, last year you were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You got big games.
Oh yeah.
Are you really able to spend as much time as you would want to, to study it?
No, not really. It's hard. That's why you keep it as something fun, and everyone finds their time to set rosters and stuff. But half of my season last year, I was in Antarctica for about 10 days. It was a 14-day round trip. So
what'd you do in Antarctica?
I went down there with a buddy who runs guided tours down there, and we actually set a record for the fastest pitch on the continent of Antarctica. And
wow,
that was all kind of a hype train to get people on this trip and, educated on Challenge Athlete Foundation, which is a group I've worked with in San Diego for the last handful of years. And they
what is it exactly?
Challenge Athlete Foundation is it's a group in San Diego-based group that has raised over $150 million to provide prosthetics, travel expenses, certain type of wheelchairs for wheelchair basketball and sports. But it's essentially a group that allows these athletes that are either born with limb deficiencies or have had accidents, throughout their life that have caused them to have deficiencies in limbs or abilities taken away from them that the average athlete in a regular professional sport would have, and they provide them the opportunity to continue to live out their dreams and their love for sports, with some of these things that they provide for them. So
wow.
It's a great organization. But I went down there and we were gone for 2 weeks, so there was 2 weeks where I had no service and couldn't set rosters. So it gets difficult, but it's also towards the end of the year. We look forward to a lot in San Diego. Being on the West Coast, you get 10 a.m. starts, so we all get to catch a full football game before we go out, on the field. And it's a lot of trash talk, really competitive, and it really gets the juices flowing down the last month of the year.
Yeah. Okay, so give me your draft philosophy, and because I don't play fantasy football, but I think it must be difficult now because so many running backs are only part-time players.
Right.
Coaches are using running backs a little bit differently. You don't have a guy carrying it 320 times anymore.
Right, the old Zeke's, right?
Yeah. So what do you do And what's your philosophy on building a team?
I always like to try to grab the run pass backers. The guys like Eckler, and I think with where I'm at the 4th spot, I got a chance to grab him in that first round. He's a Charger guy. I'm a San Diego Chargers diehard fan. I followed him up to LA, so
have you seen him up at SoFi at all?
I have. I've gone up to a handful of games. I'll be going up to a couple more this offseason, but I always have a soft spot for the Charger players, and Eckler's been a big producer over the last few years. But, yeah, those run-pass guys, and I feel like where in the past it used to be like very heavy running back picks in those first couple rounds. I went a little more wide receiver heavy the last few years and then used those pieces to trade them off where I felt like there was a handful of backs that were worth taking really, really early, and then you can let slide and get maybe a Miles Sanders or something a little later on in the 4th, 5th, and, work from there.
What do you think of Bijan Robinson this year?
I haven't seen too much on him. I haven't kept up with him much, but I was talking to Bregman, and some of the guys are in their bigger league, and Bregman took him pretty early on. He was pretty high. I think he got him at like 3.
Bregman with the Astros, They have a league?
Yeah, that's that's the high rollers league. That's
it
I think
is.
Tommy Pham, Peterson, Trout. I think some of the Barstool guys are in there, but that's the big money league. And I was talking to some of my buddies that are in that, and Bregman was saying that Bijan's his guy. I think he took him at 3. So.
Wow. Well, I don't know. I'll say this. Arthur Smith, the coach of the Falcons, who I know, he's got a lot of mouths to feed in Atlanta. He's got to get Cordero Patterson the ball. He's got to get Kyle Pitts the ball. I love Bijan, but I'm not positive that he's going to be the Nirvana pick. I'd much rather have Eckler.
Especially with the way that Patterson's run the ball the last last 2 seasons. He's been really hot. So, yeah, that's tough.
And they also have Tyler Algier as a 1,000-yard back there.
That's right.
And so I don't know. But look, I love the Falcons. I think they're going to be a really, really interesting team. Let me ask you 2 other things. So when the baseball season ends, and so Xander Bogaerts, I guess, goes home to Aruba or whatever. I mean, what do you do? Text and email? Do you make trades and everything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we got our WhatsApp group chat going, and that's just nonstop rolling. We'll start up a separate one once fantasy starts up, and that's the Trash Talk group chat. But everyone's locked in, man.
It's not called the Trash Talk group chat.
I don't know. We don't have a name for it, but there'll be some name for it. But guys stay locked in. We try to keep the integrity of the league, intact, to make sure everyone's setting lineups and, not slacking off and making it a true competition. So everyone's engaged and everyone's locked in even when they go home.
Yeah. 2 other things that I was curious about. Are football players crazy about any other sports other than football? I mean, are baseball players? Yeah. I mean, like, is there a fantasy basketball league? Is there fantasy golf?
Golf's probably the second biggest one. Some of our clubbies in here, and then like Grisham's a big guy that's in the golf stuff. Stammen was a big guy. They do like I don't know if it's fantasy or like a FanDuel or something, but they set lineups every week during the golf season, and they go at it every single week. So golf's probably the second biggest. I'm a huge UFC fan. We have a handful of guys in there that are really into like MMA and boxing and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably golf and football are the top 2.
Wow. Okay. Last thing. What do you think is the reason why baseball players are so into fantasy football? Is it because everybody just watches football anyway?
I think it's probably people's ability to I don't know how this comes off, but people's ability to prove how good they could be in that role. Because, in baseball, everyone's on a pretty even playing field. We all understand the game really well. We know the players really well. We know the ins and outs. But you take a sport that everyone's always watched for fun and ask them to add a managerial or a GM type perspective to it. You see which guys are really tapped into, the importance and the intricacies of football. So some guys feel really, really confident in that area, and I think that's a chance for them to, to get a little cocky and, create some competition. But any competition that you put in front of an athlete, especially baseball players with this team, it's going to be competitive.
Yeah. Baseball is really a hard sport to figure, because at the beginning of this season, I would have said that the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres, one of those 2 teams is going to be in the World Series. And, I'm a Red Sox fan. I have no idea how the Red Sox are over 500 right now. And so how do you figure baseball? Really? Tell me, because I'd love to know.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense sometimes, man. I mean, it's a long season. It's grueling. Injuries are a big part of that. Your roster can be as strong as it looks on paper in spring, and you come in, you could lose 2, 3 of your biggest players and really be set back. And sometimes the ball doesn't go your way. I mean, we've had some really tough luck this year. Some of our peripheral numbers are in really good spots. We just haven't done a good job of winning the close games this year. You know, we've had a lot of blowout games, and then we lose all the one-run games. So, you know, down the stretch of the season here, when it gets to crunch time and you got your back into the wall, I feel like that's where this team, really takes off. So you never want to push it to this point in the year where, you're forcing yourself to have to win games every night. But that's what
So
I
you're
feel like.
saying it's not over for the Pods?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We'd like to be in a lot better position, but, I think we're at 4.5 games out with around 40 games to go. It's definitely doable. So we haven't played our best baseball this year, and we're hoping that's coming down this stretch here. Our confidence is getting higher. We're starting to put together, more quality games consecutively, which has been our thing. We'll go on a stretch of, 2-3 really good games, and then we seem to fall off for a handful and just haven't had much consistency this year. But it's a long year, man, and, when it comes down to it, it's all about getting in the postseason. It doesn't matter if you get in by 15 games or by half a game. As long as you're in there, you got a chance. And when you get to the post and you see how it went last year, a team in the Dodgers that absolutely dominated us all year long. I think we won 4 games against them all year. We put them out 3 in a row to kick them out. So it's really about getting into the playoffs and giving yourself a chance, and then anything can happen from there. Anybody gets hot and goes on a little run.
So I got to ask you my one selfish question. I'm a Red Sox fan, and I was really sad to see Bogarts go.
Yeah.
So how's Xander been for you, and have you become good buddies with him?
Yeah, Xander's he's one of the best teammates I've had. Extremely engaging with everybody, not just the position players or the Latin guys. He's kind of the mesh piece that everybody can go through to communicate and to get along. There's a lot of guys there's language barriers in here where things don't, you're not able to express completely how you feel or share ideas, and Bogey's always right there, middleman in it.
Yeah.
The things he does on the field speak for themselves, but who he is off the field, I think, is a huge part of the value in getting a guy like that here. So I'm sure, along with yourself, a lot of Boston fans are upset to see him go, but we're extremely grateful to have him here.
Joe Musgrove, thanks a lot for talking to me about fantasy football in baseball. I've always been really, really curious about it because almost every team plays it, and it's just cool to hear how interested you guys are in football.
Yeah, I feel like a little kid again. It's fun, man. We enjoy it, and it's like you said, it's something that is away from something that we do on an everyday basis, and allows you to tap into some other things outside of baseball and keep you sane down this last stretch of 162 games. So,
Joe, thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.